there's been a big breakthrough in the truth behind Jesus Christ's existence. Today I'll be talking about holy relics, secret archives, and all kinds of crazy things the Vatican is hiding, including aliens, secrets of the Vatican. Part 1. Deep underneath the Vatican is a secret archive of files going back 1,200 years. Inside this rare collection of documents are said to be certain texts related to unexplained phenomena, including alien encounters. The Vatican has had such a tough time with their secret archive that they changed its name. It used to be called the Vatican Secret Archive, but they changed it to the Vatican Apostolic Archive, all in an attempt to stop people from spreading conspiracy theories about the secrets they might be keeping. It's a little too late for that. The world already knows that the archive is a repository for thousands upon thousands of records, many of which the public are not privy to, even though the Vatican says they've opened the archives to the public. Wait a minute, the archives are open. They are indeed. When Pope Francis renamed the archives half a decade ago, he also made its documents officially no longer secret. You can comb through the files yourself reading the trial manuscripts of Galileo in 1633, or you can read the papal bull from 1493 written by Pope Alexander VI, who gave Spain more control over the New World and effectively divorced them from Portugal. Then there's the plea from Mary, Queen of Scots, just before her execution, begging Pope Sixtus V to spare her life when the Pope didn't intervene. Mary was executed in 1587. If you get a chance, read the letter. It is chilling. Or how about the letter written by Henry Roman VIII asking the Pope's permission for him to get an annulment from his wife, Catherine of Aragon, so that he could marry a different woman, and Boleyn. Henry's letter was signed by 85 clergymen, but that didn't stop the Pope from denying Henry's request. The Pope's denial motivated Henry to cut ties with Rome and start the Church of England, ushering in centuries of violence between Catholics and Protestants. The 53 miles of shelving inside the archives is supposedly all out in the open. Everything the Church has ever placed in the archive is available for anyone to look at. Like the oldest document in the whole place, a loose piece of parchment discussing a church donation in Venice from 8 or 9. At least the Church claims everything is open to the public, but it's kind of like the CIA saying they've declassified all their documents and released all their information on UFOs. They say it, but can you believe it? Do you really think the Church wouldn't keep any secrets from you? A lot of information in the archives has been digitized, but getting to the good stuff has been a little tricky. Diana Walsh-Ulka, a religious studies professor at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, said that the historical record is filled with supernatural events, but the people at the Vatican don't know where to look to find those records. Diana said it's all crammed in the Vatican's basement. Stories about all kinds of crazy things stashed under untouched cobwebs. Diana also said the archivists at the Vatican are currently in a rush to digitize everything they have, but there are a lot of documents, so they prioritize what they think is important. Most of the things getting digitized don't involve tales of monks spotting strange orbs in the sky during the Middle Ages. Gary Nolan from Stanford University said the Vatican archives are a potential treasure trove for information on UFOs. Nolan called it the oldest library system of paranormal knowledge still in existence. So where is that information? Specialists are always talking about the alien secrets in the Vatican, but I want to see them. Shroud of Turin. Huge breakthrough. Either scientists are lying, the Church is lying, or Jesus Christ has just been proven real. A cloth that was buried with Jesus 2,000 years ago has been confirmed legitimate. It came as a huge shock since previous researchers dated the cloth to centuries after Jesus was dead. The artifact I'm talking about is known as the Shroud of Turin. It's a shroud that you can read about in the Bible. The Bible says that when Jesus Christ was killed upon the cross, he was wrapped in a linen shroud before being placed in his tomb. Matthew 27:59-60 says, "Then Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a new linen cloth. He put Jesus' body in a new tomb that he had dug in a wall of rock. Then he closed the tomb by rolling a very large stone to cover the entrance. After he did this, he went away." That very same shroud appeared in Italy in the 14th century. It was given to the dean of a church in Liry, France by legendary French knight Geoffrey d'Essar. There isn't much more information on its earliest origin. Other than that, nobody knows where the French knight got the shroud from, nor where it spent the first 1300 years after Christ's death. Now, I must introduce you to David Rolfe. A filmmaker and former atheist, David set out to make a documentary surrounding the Shroud of Turin instead of proving the artifact to be fake. What David found convinced him of the shroud's authenticity and inspired him to convert to Christianity in his own words. David said, "I started off as an atheist and then became an agnostic, and now I'm a Christian because I cannot possibly understand anything else that could have produced that image." The image David's talking about is the one on the shroud of Jesus Christ's face, which was seared into the cloth when it was wrapped around him. Not just his face, but his whole body. The shroud is 14 feet long and features a faint but distinct image of Jesus Christ. It's downright shocking to see if the shroud is indeed real. Jesus Christ stood 5'6" tall. What do you think about Jesus being considered short by modern standards? He had slightly sunken eyes and long straight hair. The shroud also shows the wounds he suffered during his mistreatment and crucifixion. In the 1980s, researchers determined the shroud to be fake. They conducted scientific analysis on the fabric, dating it to the Middle Ages. They focused on a small corner of the shroud, which proved to be from around 1200 AD, making it 1200 years too old. However, recent scientific tests have shown that researchers in the 1980s may have made a mistake. The scientists had focused on a corner that may have been repaired due to extensive damage. More recent tests relied on X-ray techniques. Scientists at the Institute of Crystallography used X-ray scattering to look at the cellulose patterns of the fabric. They looked at sugar molecules to determine the exact age of the material. The data profile showed that the linen is from about 55 AD, right around the time Jesus Christ was killed. This is shocking information. The shroud has been proven scientifically to be 2,000 years old. This also isn't the only time the Shroud of Turin has been proved real. There have been over 170 peer-reviewed academic papers published about the fabric since the 1980s. Many of the papers conclude the artifact to be genuine. Even if it's genuine, did it really belong to Christ? Experts at the same facility that confirmed its date also confirmed something highly disturbing. They found evidence that blood splattered on the shroud came from a torture victim. They know the person was tortured because they identified substances like ferritin and creatinine in the blood, which is typically produced when somebody suffers forced trauma. Perhaps it was the blood of Jesus, or maybe this shroud was wrapped around someone who was horrifically tortured. There's still no evidence for where it came from before the French knight found it in the 1350s, the True Cross, although there are enough fragments of what's known as the True Cross scattered across the world to build an ark. The one at the Vatican is special. It was gifted to the people of Rome by Emperor Justin Roman II in the late 6th century. But where did Justin get it? Justin ruled the Eastern Roman Empire from 565 to 578 AD. He ruled alongside his wife, Emperor Sophia. The cross he gifted the people of Rome is known as a crux, gem, or jeweled cross. It's adorned with beautiful gems covered in gold and gilt and silver. On the cross is a Latin inscription that reads, "For the wood with which Christ overcame the enemy." Justin and his consort give Rome this wealth and decoration. I will admit Justin's cross is impressive, but is it legit, or is this another one of those artifacts that the Vatican puts on full display without any kind of scientific confirmation? Did you know that according to church tradition, the true cross was made from 3 different types of wood? Cedar, pine, and cypress. Tradition also holds that each tree that was used to build the true cross grew together in a single spot. The same trees were used to construct the temple in Jerusalem, and centuries later, the Second Temple in Jerusalem. The last thing the trees were used for was to build Christ's cross, the Catholic Church, and the Holocaust. New information has been brought to light that makes the history of the Catholic Church and the Holocaust even more mysterious. If you don't already know, the Vatican has been accused of maintaining silence while Hitler carried out one of the worst atrocities in human history. The subject matter is controversial and sensitive. Pope Pius XIII unsigned a treaty with Nazi Germany before he became the Pope. Then, when he was Pope, he didn't say a word. While millions of Jews were deported to concentration camps and killed, scholars over the last century have accused the Vatican of working with Hitler to reach his final solution, the extermination of the Jewish race. However, some recently found documents challenge the plausibility of that accusation. A list of names was found at Vatican City's Pontifical Biblical Institute. The names are of 3,200 Jews who were secretly sheltered from the Holocaust by Catholic convents and monasteries after the Nazis took over Rome in 1943. It looks like the Vatican was actively trying to save as many Jewish people as they could, at least in Rome. But if that's true, why did Pope Pius keep his mouth shut when he could have blown the whistle on what Hitler was doing? You can see why this subject is so controversial. Nobody can decide if the Pope was on Hitler's team or working secretly against the leader of the Nazis. This newly discovered documentation increases the confusion. The names of the Jewish people have been verified by the organizing body of Rome's Jewish community. The community worked closely with Israel's Yad Holocaust Museum, along with a pair of Catholic-affiliated universities. The people on the list had been deported from the Jewish ghetto in Rome. These ghettos were just like the ones in Germany and Poland when the people on the list were deported. Instead of crossing the Tiber River and being taken to a concentration camp where they would have surely died, they were hidden by Catholic religious institutions. These documents were compiled by Father Joe Ebola, who was an Italian Jesuit in 1945. While they seem benevolent, at first glance, Jewish historian David Kurtzer has expressed his skepticism. According to David, Catholic institutions would often only shelter Jews who agreed to be baptized. They would save Jews from the Nazis, but only if they would convert to Catholicism. That isn't exactly a selfless act. What would Jesus think? Conclusion: the Vatican's hidden truths, faith, secrets, and the search for divine proof. The Vatican has long been a fortress of mystery, guarding ancient relics, secret archives, and controversial historical truths. From the depths of its apostolic archives, once called the secret archives, to the enigmatic Shroud of Turin, the Catholic Church holds artifacts and documents that could reshape our understanding of history, religion, and even extraterrestrial life. The Vatican Archives, a treasure trove of forbidden knowledge. Despite the Vatican's claims of transparency, skepticism remains. While scholars can now access centuries-old documents like Galileo's trial records, Henry Visay's desperate plea for an annulment, and Mary Queen of Scots' final letter, many believe the most explosive texts remain hidden. Reports of alien encounters, supernatural phenomena, and lost biblical secrets persist, with researchers like Gary Nolan of Stanford calling the archives the oldest library of paranormal knowledge. If the Vatican is digitizing its records, why haven't these alleged UFO and miracle documents surfaced? The Shroud of Turin, a divine revelation or an unsolved mystery? The Shroud of Turin, believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, has undergone intense scrutiny. After being dismissed as a medieval forgery in the 1980s, new X-ray and chemical analyses suggest it dates back to 55 AD, the time of Christ's crucifixion. Even more chilling, the bloodstains reveal traces of ferritin and creatinine, indicating the victim endured extreme torture. Could this be scientific proof of Christ's suffering? Or is it merely an ancient relic of another martyr? The debate rages on, but for former atheist David Rolfe, the evidence was enough to convert him to Christianity. The true cross and the Vatican's controversial past. The Vatican's jeweled cross, gifted by Emperor Justin Roman II, claims to contain fragments of the true cross, yet its authenticity remains unverified. Meanwhile, newly uncovered documents reveal that Catholic institutions secretly sheltered 3,200 Jews during the Holocaust. But was this an act of genuine compassion, or were conversions to Catholicism a condition for salvation? The silence of Pope Pius Roman XII during the Holocaust continues to haunt the Church, leaving us to wonder, was the Vatican complicit, or was it secretly resisting evil? Final verdict: truth, faith, and the unanswered questions. The Vatican's secrets, whether about Jesus, aliens, or its role in history, remain tantalizingly out of reach. Science and faith collide in the case of the Shroud of Turin, while the archives hint at truths the Church may never fully disclose. One thing is certain: the search for divine and historical proof is far from over. Will we ever know the full truth? Or are some mysteries meant to stay hidden, locked away in the Vatican's vaults, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Until then, faith, skepticism, and curiosity will continue to drive the quest for answers. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I love hearing from you. Check out more videos on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.